Some people probably listen to my music and think, what the in the middle of writing this song at the moment, and I'm like, this shit is not fucking normal. Some of it I'm like, people are not even going to fucking believe this shit happened, because I'm having trouble believing that that's what life was like. Cops today are probably bad, but in comparison to what they were like in the 90s growing up, patrolling High Wycombe, it was like, oh, you're coming of age? We're going to teach you who's in charge around here. It was the 90s when I was a teenager, so rap was super heavy influence for me then. I was broke as shit, and then I heard Hilltop Hoods. I was like, oh shit, Australians are rapping? That's pretty cool, you know? And I was thinking to myself, well, maybe I could, I don't know, maybe not, you know? And then I heard Draft, and I was like, oh shit, this guy's from Perth. If a guy from Perth can do it, well then maybe I can do it. I said that to him recently.
It's hard to know when to start, man. There's a lot to cover.
I didn't really have any friends in the industry, so getting to meet Optimus at that time was a big deal. And he's like, oh, well, I got a show this weekend in Perth. If you want to come jump up. I'd kind of achieved everything that I really wanted to achieve. Aussie hip-hop was peaking. It was new and exciting.
Draft, Listen SO, Hilltop Hoods, 360, Hez.
And it's aged now and changed.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't feel that like part of that purple circle in crowd sort of thing. I was getting heaps of negative energy from my peers, people wanting to fight me at shows. If I did the things they did, I would have got my head kicked in. I was like, I'm going to go bash these cunts. I don't know what the fuck.
This feels like something out of like a movie about drugs.
Everybody around me was getting massive whacks of jail. Fucking neighbours were shooting at each other. The guy got shot in the fucking chest twice by the cops. Yeah, they would literally break into our house. And
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Studio 187 Tattoo. They're located on Guildford Road in Maylands, and I'm a clean skin, but if I wasn't, I would definitely be going to see these guys. They even offer private rooms to get tattooed in if you're not a fan of the open studio structure. You can find them on Instagram at Studio 187 Tattoo.
Picture me, 16, with my bucket and weed. A scrawny fuck with his buds trying to pluck out the seeds. Withdrawn, my parents can't say nothing to me. With two middle fingers up, screaming fuck the police. I'm a competitive rapper, kinetic energy packer. Find me in the library like the Kennedy Kappa. I'ma leave these pricks cactus, irrelevant whack cunts. Knocking rap actors off the central axis. Attack 'em, Sun Tzu, military tactics. Skills the real deal, sell 'em in baggies. Spit up a lung like I'm spinning with backy. Got you over a barrel like when we killed the Iraqis. Slow flow like I'm spitting methadone, cause if I hit you with the go, then you probably overdose. Although I don't, people think I smoke dope, cause my homies Potent Grow got me looking comatose. Macking a dope chick who's stacking her own chips. Got an innie, but drives an Audi with smoke rims. She blew racks on her rack, but I just come on her back. We both on the graph, cause we hungry for cash. What?
All right, we are back once again. This is the Ozmetrix series, and today I'm joined by Smiley. Thanks for being here, man.
thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. We have a lot to talk about. And funnily enough, I feel like we have already talked about so much.
Yeah.
So It's hard to know when to start, man. There's a lot to cover, but I guess we haven't specifically spoken a lot about when you actually started rapping. Like we have personally, but like when you actually started at a young age.
Yeah, so I guess I started rapping around 2005, but I was writing well before that. But it was kind of just like almost poetry or some shit, you know? I'd just get, even when I was really young, like I'd just get stoned and just draw and I'd write stuff, just some kind of expression, you know? But then it was like a culmination of like everything all just came together. So it really started when I was really, really young, you know, like what sort of led me to it. Like when I was 4 years old, and my old man had a motorcycle crash, ended up disabled, and we ended up poor as shit, you know. And then we grew up in a rough area, and government housing and all of that. It was pretty rough. And the coppers were pretty full on, real corrupt, real violent towards us, and you know, would rob us and beat us up, and it was pretty shit, man. And I just got to the point eventually where I just had enough, and I really wanted to have some kind of an outburst. I I was just completely fed up. But it, you know, like initially I'm thinking like some kind of violence. But I just thought it through and I was like, well, if I'm violent, then I'm just going to be the bad guy and I'll be on the news lashing out, and they're not going to see the years and years of abuse and corruption and bullshit that led up to that, right? So I was like, well, the pen's mightier than the sword. So, and I remember something that Tupac said about his music, and he was like, you know, they put the Vietnam War on the news, so and that helped stop the war. So if I can do rap music and talk about what's happening in my neighborhood, maybe I can stop that through my music. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I can start rapping about some of the shit that was going on, and maybe we can make some changes, because you can't do anything when the police are on your back 24/7, you know? Yeah, they would literally break into our house and steal our shit, beat the crap out of us, and wait outside our house for us to leave for work and pull us over and harass us, or wait till I was on my way to a gig and pull me over, you know? It was just nonstop. So yeah, I guess at some point I just needed an outlet, and music was it, you know? And so it was always kind of a like political thing, you know? So I guess it came to that point probably around 2005, 2006, where I just had absolutely enough. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do music. And I started.
Just to get a perspective, what age were you?
That's a good question.
You said 2005, 2006, so 20 years ago, so you're doing about...
Yeah, so early 20s.
Yeah,
early 20s.
What was the first song you ever made, like officially?
Oh, man. I don't know, to be honest, but I was just jacking instrumentals. Like no one taught me how to rap. I just listened to other rap music and then was like, oh, that's good. I like that. How come that's good? And I would listen, and I would get instrumentals. Like it was so hard for me to get instrumentals that I would go to like record stores and be like, hey, have you got beats? And I would buy like vinyl with break beats or something on it, just to have something to rap over. Cause I didn't like the internet wasn't like it is now, where you can just go and get beats. So I'd have, CDs with instrumentals on them, and I'd just be rapping over instrumentals. And I had this like Panasonic stereo, and I could play the CD and I could rap into a mic and record it onto a tape. And so I would just do that. And I was recording songs over any beat that I had, like Eminem beats or Chingy beats or just whatever. Like it was just trash. It was terrible music, and the beats were just all jacked like that. So yeah, I really struggled to get beats initially. I remember this one song called Fat Fat Fatty that was, you know, just like a funny song, and there's some skit stuff in it, like, hey mate, you'd know, where's a good place to get a pie from around here, and just funny little jokes and shit in it. That was probably one of the early songs. And then anytime anyone wanted that music, like my friends were like, oh man, can I get a copy of Fat Fat Fatty? I would have to re-record it onto a tape and then give them a tape with that song on it. So every single copy was a one of one, basically, you know, because I just didn't have the equipment. I didn't know anybody that rapped that could teach me how to do that stuff, you know. I just had to work it all out for myself. The only inspiration I really had was, obviously, like I was born in the early 80s. So as a teenager, it was the 90s when I was a teenager. So rap was a super heavy influence for me then. I was broke as shit and growing up in the 90s, and rap music was popping. So it made sense to lean into that. And then I heard Hilltop Hoods, and I was like, oh shit, Australians are rapping? That's pretty cool, you know? And then, and I was thinking to myself, well, I can rap along to every word of a Tupac song, you know? So maybe I could, I don't know, maybe not, you know? And then I was probably writing some stuff. And then I heard Draft. Maybe that was around his, yeah, I don't know what era that would have been, but I heard some Draft, maybe Power Rider or Who Am I? And I was like, oh shit, this guy's from Perth. Like, if a guy from Perth can do it, well, then maybe I can do it, you know? I said that to him recently. I was like, man, I wouldn't have even done this if it wasn't for you, you know? And so then that was kind of the influence, was I heard the Hoods, I heard Drafto, and then I was like, well, if they can do it, then why can't I do it? It's kind of like the backflip on a dirt bike. One guy does it, and now everybody can do it. You know, you just kind of need to know it's possible, and so they were the guys that really like paved the path for me, and then I just started writing music and trying to work it out as best I could. So there was early songs, but they were terrible, and God, I hope no one's got those tapes anymore. You know, they're fucking shit.
I'm sure they're available somewhere on SoundClick.
Oh,
or something.
I hope not, man. We used to jack beats off SoundClick all the time.
I just remember finding old tracks on there. I don't,
Okay,
I think we were talking about Bitter and Solitary before. Like, I remember downloading some of their songs. Like Bitter had a song on there that you couldn't get anywhere else, and I used to. I think it was called like Sight to the Blind or something, and it was like a song about stealing your girlfriend. It was a good song, but it was like probably a bad song. And I just remember liking the chorus or something, but the only place in the world it was on was SoundClick. Yeah. But then you had to like download it from there because the actual SoundClick, I don't know if you found this, but the like the system itself was horrible. Like the operation of it was like really bad. Like it was really glitchy on my computer, and like there was always weird pop-ups. And
I remember SoundClick just for downloading beats. I got a bunch of SoundClick beats that complete, and I did a few songs too. We did a whole bunch of songs there, unreleased songs. We still got them sitting in the archive. But I remember we were getting a lot of SoundClick beats, and I guess that was probably like almost LimeWire days, right?
Yeah,
like get a virus, you know.
You were like
every time you get
getting
a fucking
AIDS.
song.
Yeah,
Every time you got fucking something, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really use it that much. I was always pretty big on like support the artist. You know, I didn't even like, hey, put me on the door. You know, I didn't really want to be put on the door. I'd rather buy a ticket and support the act because it's my friend. You know, I don't want to be a fucking freeloader. And that was my attitude towards music as well. I got a massive CD collection because CDs were a big thing back then. I mean, when I was a kid, it was vinyl and tape. So listening to a lot of music at home was a record, you know, Pink Floyd and Dire Straits and Pat Benatar and music like this was all vinyl from mum and dad had. And then as a kid, it was rap music. I remember my mate gave me this tape and it was Cypress Hill and Gravediggers. And that was like my first influence into hip hop. That, and then I got a CD. It was like a Salt and Pepper CD.
Salt and Pepper.
Yeah, they were like super early hip hop, you know, for the influence I was getting. And then I just really got into Tupac and Snoop Dogg and all that, you know, 90s death row stuff. It was a big influence for me. And then eventually CDs were a thing probably primary school for me. And then I ended up with this huge collection. I'd go buy singles of songs because then you get the B-sides and all of that. So I got this huge collection of that and heaps of Aussie hip-hop stuff on CD as well, unreleased stuff. Stuff that you can't get now on like Spotify or something like that, you know what I mean? So it was like the release was the CD. If you didn't get it at the gig or off the artist, you just couldn't get it. So I got a lot of stuff like that, which is cool.
Yeah, that's wild, man. It's crazy. It's just a different time, right? Like it's just not a thing now. Even
Totally changed.
like, I mean, now, yeah, like Maddie and Midas. I'm fucking vinyl from Maddie and a CD from Midas, and like they're both. It just feels weird. Like I like it, but it just feels weird to even get because I'm like, fuck, I can't believe people even use these.
I prefer it.
Yeah,
I listen to my music on Spotify mostly now, or YouTube. When I'm in the car, it's easy. It's on my phone. Cool. But I would happily still do CDs if there was the option of doing CDs easily.
could get the spinner, you know, the old
the stacker.
CDs, the stacker.
Yeah. In the boot of your VN Commodore, you got a 7 stacker, you know, 2 12-inch subs. I feel like kids don't do subwoofers enough these days.
They don't. Yeah,
Bring them back. I can't hear them coming down the street.
Yeah,
You should be able to hear that.
Should almost be blowing your windows out. Yeah.
Piss week. Get some fucking subs. Like, just because we're on MP3s doesn't mean you can't still run subs.
I agree.
2 15s in the boot, 2 12s. Those days are gone.
Yeah. Where's the Smiley CDs? How many CDs have you released, official CDs?
As in albums I've put out?
Yeah, like
or,
what have you actually pressed onto a CD?
I two of my albums, if that's what you mean.
Yeah. Did you do any other mixtapes or?
Yeah. So when I first started, it was on the tape stuff, and then I did CDs. I managed to be able to record onto a CD, and then I started going to studios. I got somebody heard one of my tapes, and they said, "I've got a friend that he owns a record shop in the city. I think you should go and see him." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I went and saw the guy, and he was a DJ, and his housemate was a producer, and so I ended up working with his housemate a lot. That's Michael Dodd. Tech is his stage name.
Yeah.
And he and I worked together a lot. And then I also went to Flat Spin Studio and recorded there with Stu. And we did heaps and heaps of work for years and years and years. And that really was the Smiley sound, was myself and Michael. And so then it started to be on CD, and I did there was one called the Somewhere EP, because everyone's got to start somewhere, and that was fucking terrible. I did a release called, there were a few actually. There was an unnamed one. There was one called Junkyard Dog.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that was like my first proper one with artwork and everything in a sleeve, I worked with Intellect on that. That was another thing that was happening. So while I was working with Michael, I also met Intellect, which was a weird way to meet him. He was just across the road from my house making a fucking racket, him and a bunch of his mates. There was something dodgy going on, and I wasn't having it. And I went out. I said to my housemate, I was like, "I'm going to go bash these cunts. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there, but I'm fucking done with it. I'm going to go sort them out." And, it was just that kind of area back then, And so I go out to deal with whatever's going on. And I'm sussing these dudes out. I'm like, "What the fuck's going on over here? What's all the ruckus?" They're at this corner deli, just being obnoxious. And it was late. I was like, "Shut the fuck up. What are you doing? Fuck off out of here," And this one dude was saying something about hip hop, about rap or something. I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll do a bit of rap music stuff or whatever." I was like, "Oh yeah." We got talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a producer." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So end up getting his number or something, got in touch with him, and then we ended up doing a lot of Junkyard Dog together. He produced a lot of the tracks off of that. And he's a great guy. He's still a friend of mine now. Absolute legend. But that was one of those things that could have gone either way. And then it turned, you never know, right? And it turned into a friendship. And I'm glad. I mean, I was just young and probably being a dickhead. But that's just how it was back then as well. So
it's a funny story though.
Yeah, it's a good story, right? It's like, I went over there to, to see what's going on, maybe kick somebody's ass, and then ended up making a great music connection. And he ended up helping me for my first show and all of that stuff, which we can get into. But yeah, so I did Junkyard Dog, and then I did the Suspended Sentence album. That was a full-length album. Junkyard Dog was more of an EP. And the Suspended Sentence was an LP. And then I did Stick Up Kids LP in 2019. So Junkyard Dog, I think, was 2009. Suspended Sentence, 2010. So that's 15 years old this year. That was my first full-length album. And then Suspended Sentence Stick Up Kids 2019. So yeah, that's it. That's about it.
Yeah, it's I have a side story about how I met Intellect. I think I met him somewhere else. I can't remember. I went around to his house one day.
Yeah.
I think I met him separately, and then I went around to his house one day, and all I can really remember is that we were very stoned, and when I walked in, he was wrecked, and it was like 11:30 in the morning, and he was playing tennis on PlayStation 1. And I was like, this feels like something out of like a movie about drugs. Like, he was like, "Come in, man." Like, and he offered me like a weird drink, like something weird. Like it was like warm pineapple juice or something. It was just like weird. I can't even really remember. I have no other memories. I think we just literally hung out and talked about music for a bit.
Yep.
And then that was it. But he has a lot of personality, that guy. He's like really funny.
Yes.
And so that's all my contribution to that is. But
he's got a good heart too. He's he's a great guy. He's been a friend of mine for a very, very long time. And he and I were doing music together then, and he went on and did some stuff. I think he might have done some stuff with Psychward for a little bit there, maybe.
They did a mixtape with all of them.
Okay.
And then he did some other stuff. But he did a song with a guy named like Paralytics with like a K or like something. I can't remember what the proper thing was. And then it had Erna in it as well. And that's how I came across him, because me and Erna had made some music, and it was called Boom Bap Collective, the song. And I actually liked into his music. I actually thought he was a good rapper. And when he would have a verse, I was always like, fuck, this is a good, but he just didn't make much music after that.
Yeah. And I always remember him helping give me my start, because not only did he help produce the tracks, a lot of the track, not all of them, but a lot of the tracks for Junkyard Dog, he also introduced me to Optimus, which was a big thing because, like I was saying before, I didn't really have any friends in the industry. So, and getting to meet Optimus at that time was a big deal, because he's a guy that opens a lot of doors for young guys coming up. Still does now, and certainly did for me. And so I don't forget how much he helped me and sort of where I come from, because I've got him to thank for a lot of the good things that did happen in my career. Wouldn't have snowballed on if he hadn't helped me in the first place. So credit to him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just cool. Like, to me, I was aware of both of you separately, so it's kind of cool to hear that you guys like randomly met, and like it's just funny how it all works, really, and where things
just on the corner of a fucking dodgy street in High Wycombe, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of how it should happen, I guess. But
it's pretty authentic for hip hop, isn't it?
This podcast is sponsored by Achievement Apex. Achievement Apex creates some of the best barbells in the world, and they supply some of these barbells to some of the strongest powerlifters and athletes in the world. If you want an Achievement Apex barbell, you can go to achievementapex.com and use the code PORTAPOTTY for 10% off any order that you make. Well, when you have an outsider's perspective like you do when you're like a fan, it's always different, because you never know like how anyone knows each other, or like sometimes you think people are best friends, and then you'll speak to someone and you'll be like, oh, no, I just jumped on that track with him. I don't really know him that well. And you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, you just assume people really know each other well.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like they don't at all. And it's just really strange to find that out, I guess. And it's a weird scene. I bring it up about it being weird now, and people think like, I don't know, like I'm talking shit about it, but it's just not what it was. When it used to be the way it used to be really, everyone was connected and everyone was way tighter and stuff. And it's just kind of done this a bit. That's just my perspective. But as a fan, it was like so many more people worked together, where now you just have like, in my opinion, 10 guys who are all working on their own career doing well, which there's nothing wrong with. But back then, it just felt like every company was like doing a mixtape with someone, heaps of collab songs, arguably way too many posse cuts.
Can you ever have too many posse cuts?
Yes, I think one sometimes is too many.
I can't relate to what you're saying myself, because I never felt like I was sort of a part of that in crowd.
But surely you were aware of it.
A little bit, but it was more like it was an SBX thing. So you got to think about when I came up. So there was Hunter and guys like that, like High Five, and they were like early Perth hip hop.
I'm not familiar with High Five. You mentioned
he's a graffiti artist, but I'm sure.
But he didn't rap, or
I think he did a little bit, maybe, but I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that. But definitely Hunter was one of the early guys, and then you had Downside, and then you had Draft, and that whole SBX, Layla and everything, Mortar and the Clandestine guys, and there was like this big group. I'm missing a bunch of people, and I don't mean to be rude, but there was a big crew like SBX, right? They were really killing it, and they had the whole thing on lock. And then Bitter was a bit before me. Bitter and Solitary were just a bit before me, and Bitter was killing it, man. He was popping some, like his shit was raw, and there wasn't a lot of that kind of raw music out then. It was Aussie hip hop's come a long way. It kind of started out as barbecue rap, as they would call it, and it wasn't very tough. But you got to think, like on that, they kind of couldn't be, because they needed to be different from American rap And if you're trying to do a show to a bunch of pub rock, to a pub rock crowd, you can't really come out as an American act because they're not going to connect with it. So they connected well with the audience and got hip hop on the map, right? And then you had, I think we spoke about it the other day, but here in WA we had Groove FM, and that was a big push for a lot of the SBX guys. You had Bitter coming through, guys like Solitary. There were a lot of other guys like that were kind of doing their thing at the time. But Bitter was a standout. And then I came through, I had my stuff going on, and then we had Complete come through. But I think it was maybe at one of Optimus's, it was like a party or something. It might have been his Bucks night maybe or something. And we had a good chat about it. And he's like, basically we decided that we should have more crews in Perth. It shouldn't just be SBX. And he's like, why don't you start your own crew and build them up with all these young guys that are coming up, you know? And I think Bitter had Western Coalition going on then. That might have been him and Solitary. I don't know if anyone else was involved in that. I did 32 Krew. And then you see things like Psych Ward and stuff like that come after because of this idea that we had of like building out these additional crews that would be supportive of the WA scene. So I feel like I was always just kind of doing my own side thing. Like the Smiley thing was just kind of similar to Bitter. Like Bitter was just doing his own thing. I was just doing my own thing. When Complete came out, he was kind of just doing his own thing. And it wasn't part of that bigger group. We were like the next generation coming through and helping each other a little bit. But we weren't like best friends hanging out. Me and Complete would hang out a bit. Occasionally he used to come over to my place or whatever. I went over his, once or twice. And so we were friends and we would hang out. But there wasn't a lot of socializing. Whereas I think the SBX guys socialized a lot more. So I didn't feel that like part of that Purple Circle in crowd sort of thing. It never really eventuated. But I see how it looks like that. And I think it should be more like that. And I think that when you have that connection, it gives everybody social proof. You see it with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Exhibit and Eminem and guys like this. They all mention each other in their songs and it gives each other social proof and it boosts the brand up. And I think WA as a collective should all be more supportive of each other and be boosting each other up more. I think it was a good idea that we had about having separate crews. It makes it like you get a little healthy competition, like in a positive way, and you you can work together closer. It might work better. I like that, but I feel like I never had that close knit community of like, oh, the rappers are my friends. And then additionally to that, it sounds like it's a good idea, but the problem with any crew is that everybody's representing the same brand and not everybody wants to be represented by other people in that brand. So I've seen that with a lot of gang shit or like graffiti crew stuff, where you'll get one guy and he's a bit of a turkey and then he does some dumb shit and then that affects everybody else. And, and it can really fuck with the name of what you've got going on. So sometimes it's not good. You know what I mean? Like you might not want to fly the same flag as somebody else if they're doing something that goes against your values. And that can be a problem with tight-knit crews and, that kind of thing. So it goes both ways, I reckon. Like it can be a positive thing and it can be a bad thing. But I always felt like I was kind of just on my own, doing my own thing. And I tried to work with other guys as much as I could, and more so try to help out the younger crew as much as I could, reach out to them and do what I could. But, it was difficult. And then on a larger scale, there were a lot of gatekeepers that would keep you out as well. So as you move up, it became harder and harder to get on with certain things. Some guys would open doors for you and some guys would close them for you as well. So
we can't be too specific about that, but yeah, that's one of those things. It's a shame a little bit, but it's I think the way that you said it, man, is pretty much perfect. I get why there would be separate crews. I get why it would be good if there was more tight knit. There's there's kind of angles to it all.
Yeah.
I just think it's not even like I'm hating on it. I just think when people started to say like, oh, like it's in a really good place, like I think that's a strong observation. I think it could be in a better place.
Yeah, I think it. I agree. Definitely, and I think that era that you're probably are you referring to maybe like 2010 to 2014 era, somewhere around there?
Yeah, when there used to be like Sprung festivals and shit like that, you know.
Yeah, the whole music industry was better.
It was, yeah.
But there's a few factors involved in that. Hip hop was really peaking. Aussie hip hop was peaking in its in the novelty of it.
Yeah.
It was new and exciting, and it's aged now and changed. And in some ways it's better, and in some ways it's lost its way. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect is a couple of things, man. You got Triple J stopped supporting it, really. When you say Aussie hip hop, I know because we've spoken about it before, but you're talking about very Aussie hip hop, right? Like the that era of Aussie hip hop.
When I went to Groove in the Moo in like 2012, maybe 13, there was obviously other bands there, but there was Draft, Bliss and Esso, Hilltop Hoods, 360, Pez, and like there might have even been like another person there. I can't really remember. Maybe one other person. And it just felt different. And they were like mainstream Australian hip hop back then. You know what I mean? And so like but it just felt like to me the underground shit was like you couldn't even name everyone. Now it's like I could name 10 people that are active and then probably 40 people that I can think of, but half of them don't have Instagram or they still haven't made a song in 6 years. And like, it's not a huge issue or anything. And I'm not here to critique anyone. I'm doing this because I want the opposite. Yeah. I want to create this thing so that it's talked about more and people can see more and stuff. Because a lot of the time, and I spoke about this with Matty before, people aren't aware of it. Yeah. People don't even know he released a new album. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just different now, as you said. So I understand that, but to me, it is a little bit on us as well. A little bit.
Yeah, 100% it's on us. Yeah. Any leader is going to say, anybody with leadership qualities is going to say, it's my fault, right? They're not going to pass the blame on to anybody else. But if you're asking why it flopped from how big it was to that downturn that we saw, I think CD sales stopped. I think live shows changed. As in, like you say, the festivals probably got a bit watered down. There were so many of them. Triple J stopped promoting young Australian rappers. There was a huge thing with what words you were and weren't allowed to say on Triple J. They sent me an email. I did a remix of one of my songs with Disaster from Downside, and they sent me an email when I uploaded the song to their website saying, you need to change your lyrics or you're not going to get played. So really they're pretty intrusive on creative control. And then, so there was like not really much money in it anymore. And that's difficult when you're only maybe just ticking along or you're putting your money into it and not really getting anything back. A lot of these acts just can't afford to do it because they're not even getting CD sales or, everything went to streaming. Triple J's not supporting young acts like they were. It's totally different now. That Aussie hip hop that was really popular then wouldn't get played on Triple J now. Absolutely no chance, there's no way I'd get played on Triple J, not just for the content of my lyrics, but probably for the color of my skin, probably because of my gender. If you scroll on Triple J hip hop show on the Instagram, and you look down and you tell me how many people on there look like me, it's not many, mate. So I don't think someone like me is diverse enough. I don't think I tick the DEI box for Triple J hip hop show anymore. And so I think that killed a lot of the scene as well. You got to really fall in that box to get played. And then the responsibility's on us now because, okay, so you're not getting Triple J play. which you should be, because I mean they're taxpayer funded station that's supposed to promote Australian music. But I guess, government owned thing, of course, they're not going to want to play music that's anti-establishment either, right? So who gives a fuck if they play my music or not? I personally don't. But we should take ownership and say, okay, but we've got the internet now, so we can promote our stuff on the internet and push that. But I know for a lot of guys, they just couldn't be fucked with it anymore. For me personally, it was a lot of things. I got to an age where I was like, I need to make bank. I've got to start getting ahead in life. So I've got to put some time into work and start bringing some money in. I probably could have done it through music, but I had other ways. I could go to work and actually make money, or I could do music and maybe make money. You know what I mean? So it makes sense just to go to work and make bank, set myself up like I have now, and I'm in a much more comfortable position to do the music more freely now and not be relying on turnouts for shows and things like that. But yeah, you have to take full responsibility and say, well, what could I be doing better? I think I did my last proper show in 2014, and I was thinking about it leading up to this podcast, and I was like, why did I stop making music? Well, there were a few reasons why. One, I was getting heaps of negative energy from fans and from my peers, people wanting to fight me at shows and things like that. And the whole idea of music for me was supposed to be a positive outlet from a rough life to get into something more positive and channel it in a more positive way. And then all of a sudden, it's the most negative thing in my life. Just didn't really make sense to me anymore, right? And then, so there was all that negativity. But then, why stay up and do a late night, putting on a hip hop show, running the show myself and organizing everything when I could just go to work? Why stay up late and fuck my sleep pattern up when I could just go to work and make more money at work? And it's fun to do. Like, don't get me wrong, like I want to do it because it's a creative outlet and I enjoy the music. But from a strictly adult point of view, it's like, man, you've got a job to go to, you're running a business, you can make really good money, or you can stay up late at this hip hop show, get no fucking sleep and maybe make some money. It just didn't make any sense to me, right? So that, and then in 2014, it didn't dawn on me until yesterday afternoon that 2014, like 3 of my mates died and my dad died, so no wonder I kind of went off the rails a bit and wasn't really focused on music. My housemate died, one of my best friends from primary school died, and my dad, it's like, it was a shit year for me. A lot of negative energy in music, and money was not really the same, CD sales were fucking pretty much gone, and I'd kind of achieved everything that I really wanted to achieve anyway. So I think I just let it lapse. And then it wasn't until I realized, I need a creative outlet in my life, that I was like, I should start doing music again, and that's where Stick Up Kids album came from. It was like, I should probably start just making some shit, Yeah.
So in that sort of sense, like does that mean we're likely to see another show, like sometime?
Yeah, I don't know. So when I did the Stick Up Kids album, the deal I had with the distributor was, I'm going to put this album out and I'm not going to do any shows. I think I got to a point, I was just doing so many shows that I was just exhausting the fan base for no real reason. And they're fun to do, but I think I just overdid it. And I was like, you know what? These acts that are getting played on the radio, they just come on stage, and the first melody plays or beat plays, and the crowd goes mental. And then I'll go out there, and I wasn't a big name actor or anything, and you got to work for it so much harder, And I was like, why don't you just put a bunch of songs out, and then when one of them hits, then you can then you have the energy. Like, do the shows when the demand's there for it, And there was some demand, but not that. I was never that big a name that I had that huge demand, So I was like, I'll just work on the music. But then it all just kind of fell apart. And then so I did this album, Stick Up Kids, and I said to the distributor, I'll put the album out, but I won't do any shows. And they said, yeah, that's fine. And then we put the album out, and then they said, you got to do at least one show just to launch, you know? I said, I don't want to. And they said, well, you kind of got to. Like, how are we going to promote the album, you know? I said, oh, all right, I'll do one in Perth. And then I'd organised a venue, and I was starting to rehearse for it, and then COVID hit. So it must have been 2019 I put that album out. Yeah. 2020 COVID hit, and then I was kind of off the hook for the show. I didn't have to do it, you know. So I didn't do a show, and then it was not until last year I was talking to Complete, chatting with him on the phone, and I was saying, man, music's different for me. I like it. I like the creative outlet, but I don't really have any friends to do music with much anymore. You know, like he's one of my only mates in the scene, and I'd barely talk to him. You know, Grievous is another one. I've got a lot of respect for him. I've got a few friends in the scene, but there were guys like The Apprentice that I used to do a lot of music with. He's moved to Geraldton, you know. Michael that I was doing music with was FIFO. He's on the oil rig, so I wasn't seeing him to do music anymore. And I was just saying to Complete, I was like, man, I don't even know what music holds for me anymore. I haven't been on stage for fucking 10 years, you know. Kind of dawned on me. 2014 was probably the last time I performed. And he's like, oh, well, I got a show this weekend in Perth. If you want to come jump up, we'll do Bloodstained Nikes. And I was like, fuck, I don't even know my verse for that, but I'll try to remember. I said, yeah, for sure. We'll do that. That's great. Thanks. So I roll up and we do Bloodstained Nikes. That was the first time for 10 years. That was like straight in the deep end because, you know, Complete's killing it. Sold out show or whatever, but fucking rammed. And we do Bloodstained Nikes, which is a pretty hype song to do live. So straight in the deep end. And then I did a song with Smithy recently called Want What, Smithy and LG. They're great lads and very talented. And we did that song, and then they were like, jump up on stage. So I jumped up there and did that song with them, and I'm going to do it again with them on a show coming up soon. And it kind of, after doing that show with Complete, it kind of got me fired up again. And I was like, oh, shit, I should start rehearsing some songs because I forgot how much fun it is to perform. And so I flirt with the idea. I'm like, maybe I'll do some more shows or whatever. But part of me is like, man, I can't be fucked with it, you know. I don't know if I'm being lazy, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of energy and a lot of stress. And if I'm not going to take it seriously and do it properly, then why fuck around with it, you know? Yeah, it's a lot. If you want to put on a good show, you've got to be well rehearsed. You've got to have a good show worked out. And if you're going to get it together, then, you know, you might as well tour it and do it properly. And I don't know if I could be fucked doing that. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll just...
You don't think there would be, like, it'd be fine to just do a show here?
I could do.
Doesn't have to be massive.
Yeah, I could do, but it's like where I was at before, I was doing shows that, like every show that I was doing, that I was headlining, I was selling out. Not that I was doing tons of those, but I had got to the point where I was doing, you know, good sold out shows. And I understand now, I haven't done music for so long, and, you know, professionally, like, you know, properly, that I would have to start from the bottom, you know.
I don't think you'd have to start from the bottom, though.
Probably not, but like that would be my attitude towards it, you know. Like I got offered a headline show 2 weeks ago. The guy hit me up and said, "Hey, you want to headline this show? You know, I see you back in or whatever. It'd be good." And he's a good friend of mine, and there was such a generous offer. I appreciate it, but I feel like I need to, you know, maybe one day you'll turn up to a hip hop show, and I'll do a short set before somebody else, unadvertised, you know, and I might just jump up and do it because I feel like if I'm going to do another show, people probably, you know, I'll probably get a few people come out to it. I want to make sure I put on a good show for them and make sure that the ring rust is gone, you know. So maybe I'll just jump up in other people's sets and do some songs here and there, and then maybe I'll do a few songs on the down low somewhere at a gig, unadvertised, and then maybe, you know. But I'll probably go full 8 Mile. It's been fucking 10 years, bro, since I've done a show. I used to kill them. We used to fucking have the best shows, but it's been a long time. So
Isn't the plan to come back though?
This podcast is sponsored by PedTest Australia. If you plan on using or are currently using performance-enhancing drugs, it is very important that you make sure you are doing so, having them been tested before you use them or while you are using them, to make sure that you take care of your health. And you can also recommend that the people around you do so as well. Go to PedTest Australia on Instagram to find out more about the details on how you can test your current performance-enhancing drugs that you are using, or you can find out more about testing other compounds or things that you are putting in your body if you would like to make sure that you take care of your health.
maybe. I don't really know what the plan is. I enjoy the creative side of making music. I need a creative outlet. I'm making music regularly now. I've changed my team. I'm working with Rob Shaker a lot now. I'm pretty good at being slow enough as it is to do stuff, but I can't have people around me that are also slow as well, or busy, I should say, so like too busy. So I need a team that are very productive, and then when I'm good to go, we go. Rob is really good like that. So Rob and I have been working on a bunch of music. I don't know what I'm going to do with it though. No idea. But I'm enjoying the process of making music. I've got a bunch of songs there. We'll do a bunch of video clips. I could do singles. I could do an EP. I could do an album. I really haven't decided. I was chatting with Complete about that too, about different options of which direction to go. I don't know. It's not that important to me. What's important to me is the creative outlet and writing the music. And really, the most important thing about like a comeback for me would really just be to influence the scene in a positive way. We got some absolute guns coming through. You just had Mike Midas in here before. You got Kano. His work ethic's incredible. Smithy, absolute fucking gun. I just did that song with Smithy and LG. Those guys are great. And there'll be a bunch of guys that I'm not even thinking of, but a lot of them are already established enough that they don't need my help. But there's a lot of guys that I would like to try to help if I can. So if there's anything I know or contacts that I've got or something like that, if some of these guys that I get along with that are my mates, I wouldn't mind helping them out. That's probably the position I'd rather play in the scene is to like add value to the scene, boost WA hip hop up, and like just do my part for the scene in that way. And yeah, you're right. Probably releasing more music and doing more shows, helps the scene as well. I'm sure. The more music that's coming out, the better. And that's like we were just saying before. It's everyone's responsibility to pitch in, or else we don't really have a scene. So I do see that responsibility. But yeah, I just think I just want to make music, and I don't give a fuck. Like before, I cared. Now I couldn't give a fuck. Before it was like I've got to do music because it's the only way out of this super fucking negative life. Like my life before music was everybody around me was getting massive whacks of jail. My fucking neighbors were shooting at each other across the fucking fence. Like it was fucking crazy, dude. The guy that was living over the back of me got shot in the fucking chest twice by the cops doing a fucking armed robbery on a fucking jewelry store. Ended up doing 14.5 years jail. The guy next door fucking caved some bloke's skull in, did 7 years. One of my best friends, but like it was a rough area, It was a rough time, and I was like, if I can just fucking do this music, I had those fucking rose-colored glasses on. I was like, music can save me, And you hear people say it all the time, music really saved me, And I guess that's what I was hoping for. And then I saw behind the curtain, and I was like, this is fucking terrible, Like the music scene's whack. Heaps of people in it. I wouldn't fucking spend any time with, And a lot of the people in the scene were not really my kind of people, But I was like,
how do you mean?
We just got different values, different character, yeah, I thought that was like a way out, to do music, and it was so important to me. I was like, I've got to make this music thing work, I've got to have a career in this music scene. It's not that for me now. because now I'm financially stable. I'm more educated, and I understand how to stay away from those things. I have options. Before I had no options. I had to live where I had to live, you know. I lived in the flats for a long time, government housing for a while, and I just didn't have a choice. I was too fucking poor. Tough luck. I had to be around that environment, but now I don't have to be around that environment if I don't want to, and I choose not to be, obviously. And I'm not desperate and like clinging on to hope for some change. You know, now if I do music, it's just because I want to do music, and if I connect with people in the hip hop scene, it's because I want to do that. I'm not trying to network or anything like that. I couldn't give a fuck. I've got nothing to gain or to lose from music. I just do it purely because I want to do it, you know? And there's a couple of guys like Complete and Bitter, especially because we were the same kind of era, that for me it's very nostalgic, and we've got a lot of history in a positive way. I've got heaps of love for those two guys. And so, you know, connecting with them again after a long time has been really good for me. And then there's a lot of other guys in the scene as well that there's a lot of history there, you know. It's good vibes. So for me, it's just that. It's help out the young dudes, have a creative outlet, do it because I want to do it, and there's absolutely no pressure. I couldn't give a fuck. I don't answer to anybody, and make those old connections again with good people, you know, that are in the scene. And that's it, really. Yeah, it's freeing, man, to not give a fuck. You know, when you're doing stuff and it starts to get too serious, it takes all the fun out of it. You know, doesn't matter what it is in life. It's like, oh man, this music's starting to get popular, or we're selling out shows, or now we've got to sell out every show. I remember a really big name act coming to WA and doing a tour. And I went with them, you know, on the tour down south and stuff. And I remember they were so upset about not getting the numbers at one of the shows. I thought it was great. I thought the show was fantastic. And they were amazing, you know, their performance. Great album that they were touring. And they were upset by the numbers. And I remember just thinking, like, when you're at that level, that's what matters, is like you have to get the numbers on the door. Because, like, that's your money to survive, for the year, you know, until you tour next. It's a lot of pressure, man. You know, it takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's a different place, I guess. I hope that I can't help it as someone who's a fan and likes the music and wants to hear more from you, that it'll change. Like, you know.
I know that's not what you don't want to hear, but you got to think about the pressure that puts on somebody as well, right?
Oh,
so
of
it's
course.
Like very flattering that somebody wants you to do more music. And the only reason why I release music is because people hit me up and say, when's that new music coming out? So when I do have new music, I consider putting it out. Otherwise, I just do it for myself, right? I could give a fuck about the external validation and all that stuff. But it's only because guys like yourself are like, man, what's going on with the new music? And I'll be like, all right, I'll put it out. There's some new music. But you got to think of the pressure that puts on people as well. Like, I remember people hitting me up, like pestering me, like, what the fuck's going on with this new music? I'm like, man, I fucking don't owe you anything. I appreciate the support and the love, like, massively. But I've got my own, I'm a human being just like you, and I got my own shit going on. And I don't mean to come off as a fucking dickhead, but I don't have a responsibility to do music because you want me to do music. I'll just do it if I want to do it, you know? And really, it's not a bad thing. Like, fucking, how often does Dr. Dre release music, you know?
Dr. Dre is probably the worst example, but I understand what you're saying, yeah.
His music's great, and you don't love him any less for it.
I don't actually love Dr. Dre's music, but let's not get into that, because everyone will hate me if I do that. But not that I dislike it as well. Dr. Dre is just a weird example for me because he doesn't write any of his own shit, so it's always kind of like...
Yeah, but he's a producer.
Well, yeah, if we're talking about anything that he produces, I mean, that's a hard one, because if he produces something that someone else does and it's good, then, like, I understand it's still his work, but it can't be denied that that person is the one that's going to probably receive the most accreditation for it, because that's what people see. Eminem releases a song. People don't go, man, did you hear that production? People go...
You don't do that.
Well,
All the producers do.
yeah, but I mean, fuck, the nichest market ever. You know, all the producers do. You know, like I
Some
can't
dude in
imagine
his
what it
bedroom
would.
somewhere like.
Yes.
Fucking snare.
Dude, those fucking 808s, man. Like, I can only imagine what it must be like being like Daz or Shaker or whatever, because you just wouldn't be able to look at music the same. Like, you would have such a behind the scenes look at things that it would. I'm sure they can still enjoy it, but then maybe they're not the right examples. But I feel like to a degree it would be frustrating.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right.
yeah.
And there's people don't. You listen to music differently when you've seen behind the curtain, right? So yes, you study the music technically, and sometimes you can't listen to music that other people love because it has technical flaws that frustrate the shit out of you. Or maybe you know the person personally, and you used to really like their music, but then they were an arrogant dickhead, or did something rude to you. Which I got a million stories like that I won't tell you, but where the guy was, his music was great, and then he was fucking drunk, stumbling through the crowd, pushing into you. You're like, hey man, you're spilling my drink. Fuck you, fucking drunk. You're just like, then how am I going to enjoy your music now? You're clearly an arrogant cunt. Or I mean, that's the bare minimum. I'm talking guys that will like block your music or try to get you cancelled and things like that, and you're like, what the fuck did I do? You're like, all right, well, it's hard for me to have that plan, or yeah, it gets way worse than even that. But
it's how you like what you attribute to people as well, and like the level of like we talked about this the other day, because I'm like, yeah, music's cool, and then someone's like that says something like that, they're a dickhead, and now I'm like, now I don't care about music.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where like, I'm not going to be like one of these like. I'm not like smoking a cigarette around a glass table in a jet pilot jumper, listening to your music at 3 a.m, bro. Because like I know that you've got a lot of fans that do that, but I don't look at you like that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool until you're a dickhead, and now I couldn't give a fuck what you do. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
but not everybody's like that. You know
well,
what I mean?
I'm trying to grow, right? So I'm not the guy that I used to be, and I'm trying to continue to grow as a man, right? And so I try to separate the music from the artist. I also try to separate my personal life and my personal values from work. And I consider when I am releasing music or performing music, I class that as work because I'm professional when I do it. So there's some people in the music industry that are genuinely my friends, and then there's some people that are just Karen from HR. And Karen from HR is a fucking cunt.
Yeah, she sucks.
She fucking calls the cops on the fucking neighbors all the fucking time, and she fucking talks behind your back all the time. But you got to work with Karen from HR. So these days, I just bite my tongue and I work with Karen from HR. And I have had so many unnecessary falling outs with people that's really only damaged my music career because I couldn't work with Karen from HR. And so I need to pull my head and be a bit more mature with those things.
Play the game.
Not play the game like I'm not going to sell my fucking soul and kiss someone's ass. But there's no need to tell people how I feel. It's none of their fucking business sometimes, My genuine friends know that they're my genuine friends. And some things I was a dickhead on, and I've apologized, to people for that stuff because I was out of line, just taking things too far. Things that in my world growing up were very serious things, but to your average person were not that serious. And I had to walk that line, but they probably didn't, like those things had to be serious to me, because if I did the things they did, I would have got my head kicked in. But for them, they don't even live in that world. So it's not relevant, And now that I'm older and out of all of that shit, then I look back and I think a lot of that stuff's kind of silly as well, like fucking grow up, man. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Interesting talk about the industry. I think that gives us a good segue into the industry a little bit, some of the industry, because Maddie had a tough time getting some of these. Midas got a few of them. But let's see how Smiley does, because I, as I said, have been like a nerd for rap. I've always kind of like paid attention to shit that people don't pay attention to. Like you would get this a lot with stuff where I'd talk to someone, I'd be like, oh, this track. And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know. And like they can't remember stuff or they don't pay attention to what anyone's songs are called or whatever like that. But when you're a fan, you're like the opposite. Like, because you don't know any of the personal stuff. So your brain's filled with all like the weird trivial things that don't matter.
Which I probably should have been talking about all the music stuff more. But
we still will though. We've got time. But like it was like back in the day, there was this rumor going around. I don't know if it was, pretty sure it was never true. But it was like Drink, Drank, Drunk was getting around and people like that Draft song and people were like, oh, someone once said like Draft worked at like a Kunana bottle shop and like that probably definitely never happened, right? But for whatever reason, it was like this thing that people in my area latched onto. Yeah, this guy worked at Kunana bottle shop, like as if it like meant anything at all. But it was this weird trivial detail that like almost we tried to attribute to like the place that we grew up to be like, you know, he worked here. And like, I'm pretty sure in one of his songs, he says, rock it every weekend. And then some people were like, yeah, he says like go to Rocco every weekend. I was like, he definitely doesn't say that.
Wanting to make that connection. I'll ask him next time.
Yeah. 100%.
What's your thoughts on Rockingham?
He'll be like,
find out.
Where the fuck's that? What the fuck is Rockingham?
He's so professional that I'm sure if he was playing in Rockingham, he'd be like, Rockingham, you're my favourite place to perform. No,
this is the best. This is the best show so far. So we're going to do this and we're going to see if you can remember. I've changed a few of these keys, so I've probably fucked
I've got
myself.
full disclosure. I've been boxing on and off for the last 20 years, so I don't have the best brain.
No, you can't give me that. No.
And I don't listen to a lot. Is this all Aussie hip hop?
Well, yeah, these are all Perth artists.
Okay, I don't listen to a lot.
Well, actually, I think one of them's
I'm
not Perth
not a
artist.
rap encyclopedia, but we'll try.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Mike Midas and Matty B are both hungover, so you can do it. You'll be fine.
I'm not that.
So we'll start with this one, right? So I'm going to tell you the line. You get double points, right? If you can tell me who said it, then you get a high five. If you can tell me what song it was from,
Okay.
you get a double high five.
Oh shit! I won't know song names.
All right. So we'll start with this one. It's funny, when I started this rap biz, the closest thing that came to pussy was cat shit. I've got a couple. Hold on. So you get it right, it's going to go like this.
Okay.
If you get it wrong, right, and then right now, while you're thinking, it's going to be like this. This is the thinking music, but no pressure.
Well, I think the line's from Disaster.
Oh, okay, you might be right. But what song?
I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say, like, maybe it's off the All City album.
I'll give you one more guess. I'll give you a clue because I gave Mike Midas a clue. It's a collaboration song. It's not one of his songs.
All right. I don't know the song, but I'm pretty sure it's Daz, eh?
Yeah. Let's see if you know the song. This is the song.
Oh, by Speed.
Game Over.
Game Over. That's the one.
Yeah.
I
So
love that song.
It's a great song. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a bit of a hip gem, like, because I speak to people and a lot of people that like Oz hip hop don't actually know the song.
It might be a hidden gem in Perth, but I bet it's not in Melbourne.
Oh no! I imagine I'm assuming people. I was just talking to Maddie about this before because Bias represses his a lot of stuff on vinyl.
Cool.
So I wouldn't mind getting Bias Life because like it's just cool that
I think I've got that album on vinyl actually.
Yeah, really.
Is that Been There, Done That?
That's the one. Oh,
Is that the name of the
I
album?
thought Bias Life was the one where he had like the world in his hands. I think Been There, Done That's like a white one.
Isn't Been There, Done That the one that's got that song on it?
I'll have to look it up probably. But he's actually got quite
You're
a few.
supposed to know. You're running this thing.
No. I'm asking you
Let's
questions.
look it up now.
Okay. All right.
What's the song called?
Well, I know Game Over. I don't know what.
Oh, yeah,
it's off.
Game Over. That's right. Game
Bias
Over,
B.
Bias B.
Yeah, Been There, Done That. Yeah, that's what Game Over's off. But
Okay.
Bias
That's not
Life.
bad, eh?
But Bias Life is
Bias B is great. I really like him because
in love with the music. That's
he's good music and graffiti background as well. I've got a graffiti background as well, so not a good one, but
you've got one.
I've got one, and so yeah, I always rated him, and I think
Oh, started playing song.
I might have opened for him. Was it him?
Used to come over here a lot, eh?
Yeah. Let me just check.
And Smiley's going to check. He's just finding out.
I think I might have. it was a long time ago that I was doing shows regularly, and I'm very grateful I got the opportunity to open for a lot of really good acts. We got no reception in here. Is this a Faraday cage?
Yeah. So what are you trying to look up?
Just some old flyers.
Oh yeah, we might. We've got Wi-Fi here, but you might be stuck when it comes to hotspot.
This could take 10 years. Let's go on to the next one.
We'll go to the next one, and we'll.
I feel like I
reset
should get bonus points for knowing the album it was on.
Okay. All right.
You
We'll
did.
give you. Yeah. Fuck's sake! I beat me at my own.
I'm a businessman.
I didn't know the
I'm trying
album.
to work out a good deal here.
I didn't know the album I was on. Ready? There we go. That's for me because I didn't know. All right. You ready for the next one?
Far away.
There's 3 city girls in town. We were the gossip. Then one of the locals got his dick stuck in a possum.
Fuck.
Does music help?
Say that again for me? Oh, yeah. It helps.
I'll read it while this is playing so it matches. There's 3 city girls in town. We were the gossip. Then one of the locals got his dick stuck in a possum.
Oh. It's Layla, I reckon. And it's off that song about her going to the country and never wanting to...
It's a Coles.
What's it called?
I'm going to need a title there, mate.
Fuck, I don't know. I think it was... Was it off a Heretic album?
It was.
So it was Layla.
That's well, I mean, it's not like you've got many albums to choose from, so that, I'll give you that point. I'll give you
Touche, but she did a bunch of features.
She did.
Yeah, and it was the song about her going to the country and...
Has the hilarious sample.
And, like, saying that, you know, all the rednecks were fucking weirdos.
Yeah, has the hilarious sample that's like, howdy, Krew, and he's like scratching it. You don't know that the song
I don't know the title, sorry.
Okay, he doesn't know the title. It is called Backing On Out.
Yeah.
What was fucking offer? There's 3 city girls in town. We were the gossip. No one of the locals had got his teeth stuck in a possum.
such a wild song.
I feel like I'm doing all right so far.
You're doing pretty well. I've got this one is the last one.
I'm never going to find that flyer, but I think maybe.
I spend more time owning this shit than a Jehovah's Witness when retorting an atheist.
Oh, Jesus.
I spend more time owning this shit than a Jehovah's Witness when retorting an atheist. Just the punchline.
No idea. Don't know if I even heard it.
Are you saying that you don't know?
I don't know. Hit the button. Wrong button.
Giving you thinking time.
Bow, bow.
I spend more time honing this shit than a Jehovah's Witness would retort an atheist.
LSD.
So you better sit
Of
and learn
course.
from rap, right? So I
Should
can
have
reach
said
a
it
level
at
comparable
double
to Mr.
time.
Birch. That's
Leon, there's the funny thing about LSD.
I can't believe I didn't know LSD.
I know. This is the thing, right?
He's in my crew.
If I had a said it
Sorry, brother.
in double time, if I had have even remotely said anything like the way he says it, you would have got it because no one flows like that.
That's right. Yeah,
he's got a very distinct style.
He was the first guy. So double time wasn't really a big thing here in Australia, like not at all. And it was huge in the UK.
2 seconds. That was for you, Smiley, because you got it wrong. You can take these off now.
Cool.
This podcast is sponsored by Bulk Gym Chalk. Do you struggle to hold onto your deadlifts? If so, it can be very important to make sure that you have good quality chalk and access to that chalk. So go to Bulk Gym Chalk. You can find them on Instagram and get yourself some good quality chalk so that you can make sure that you can train in the gym and get the best out of your training while doing so.
So in the UK, double time was a big thing. And I remember doing a song with him. He had this song called Fuck the Joneses. It was like, fuck the Joneses, fuck the Joneses, fuck the Joneses, and whatever they roll with. And it was a fucking banger, man. And I don't even think you can get it anywhere now. It was on Triple J on Earth page, and I heard it on there. He's a Perth artist. Or it might have said the UK or something. And I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, let's do a collab. And we did this song called Back to the Wall, or Backs to the Wall or something like that. It's not a homophobic song, despite how that title sounds.
I didn't think it was. Now you said it, I'm unsure.
No, yeah, just about being backed in a corner, whatever. And we did a song when he was in the UK, and it was this crazy double time verse that he gave me, and I was like, "That's fucking nuts." Well, he came back to Perth because he was originally from here, and And he came over to my place, and we were talking about doing, like, we did rehearsals. We're going to do the song live. And I was like, there's no way this dude's going to spit this whole double time verse, like, without a fucking breath in it. And he just did it like it was nothing. I was like, what the fuck? And then he started doing shows, and he was doing this double time stuff, and he's putting out all this music. And then next thing you know, everybody in Perth, including myself, had to have some double time in just about every verse. You know, it just became a thing where, like, everybody just started doing it. Like, he really affected the scene in a massive way, and it spread. You could hear it in music all around Australia. And I feel like he never got his flowers. He never got his shine or credit for that. But I think he affected the scene in a positive way. And there was another guy, Maestro, that was touring with Hilltop Hoods. He was doing it too. He was another UK guy. I'm pretty sure he was doing it as well.
Okay, because you do like the tongue roll thing a lot.
Yeah, that
which is like actually
off the D's.
Really, it's actually really hard to do for anyone who thinks that it's not. It's actually very difficult to do it well. There's only a few people I know that can do it because it's quite strange in the sense that, especially sometimes when you can do it well, you don't actually need to be going that fast.
Yeah,
which is the weird thing because most people do it by almost an accident thing where like
it probably is that.
Yeah.
It probably is a fucking speech impediment or something because.
But it sounds good when you can do it well.
Yeah, I just think I was naturally doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not often, it's like, it's a rolling, but it's not off an R. Normally you would, roll your R's or whatever. But for me, it's like, I don't know, like it comes off the D. I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? And I was already doing it just talking probably. And then I was doing it rapping and people started commenting on it. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll just lean into it. I'm not running away from who I am. I'm not going to try to perfect it and get rid of it. I was like, I'll just add it in. And now it's a feature. It's become like a feature in some of my verses. Cool, whatever. I don't think that's that special, but I think what our LSD was doing, I think that was game changing. The Australian rap scene was like growing and developing, and it still is really. But those little influences would add. It's like, oh, now, somebody's doing punchlines. Now you see a lot more punchlines, and now somebody's doing double time. We see a lot more double time, and there's
sometimes too much double time.
Sometimes, but I respect it's hard to do. LSD is so technical. He does stuff where, like weird stuff. Like I can't even remember specifically, but I know he does stuff like he'll do the whole alphabet, and then like from A to B during his verse, he'll make a point of saying every letter, or do a word with every letter, and then go back down from there, back down to A again. From A to Z and Z to A, stuff like that, just to challenge himself because he's so technically dope that he's like, oh, I don't know, I'll just come up with something else. And he's got all these things, and he's got intricacies where he's like rhyming this with this, or if you take out every second line, now it's a different thing. And like, you would have to ask him because technically it's just miles above anything I've heard. But most of it would go over people's heads. It goes over my head a lot of the time. It's just so technical.
Well, you really have to listen to the shit that he says, and that's on Good Times that he did with Shake. It's sick because there's some rhyme schemes there where it's just like he lands, like he'll do stuff where he will land, he won't land at the end of the bar, like he'll land in the next half of the next bar, and just stuff that like people can't do. It sounds fucked if anyone else tries to do it.
It's hard to do that shit.
I first heard him on the Canteen album.
Yeah.
That's when I heard that song with him and the Mrs. Self-Destruct. I was like, this is...
How good is she?
Fuck, this is good. She's great as well.
His missus is a singer.
That's awesome. The song was just amazing in general. I was like, this is one of the best songs.
Disaster did the beat for it, obviously. He did all the beats on that album.
All of them?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I think Daz produced the whole album.
So who's the Long March? How did you know him?
So he's a friend of mine. I just knew him through friends, and he was a singer. Well, actually, the Long March band, he wrote all the music for their stuff, and then he got guys in to play for the live shows. So it's a super talented guy, guitar, singing, drums, everything, ukulele, whatever he needs on his song, he's putting it on there. And so we were just friends, and we worked together a little bit doing pub work and stuff. At a pub in Midland that his dad was managing. Pretty rough environment. We just clicked, and then we just did a bunch of music together, a bunch of stuff that hasn't been released or whatever. The Long March is really great. They got really
Can I get
good
a
music.
fucking mixtape of like the 48,000 songs you never released?
You got to wait till I die. I,
That's not fair. Come on.
I did. Well, I don't know what to do with them all, because I was thinking of doing like an unreleased and revamped or something. Because I was at Stu's Flat Spin, and I was like, man, can we get all these? Can I get all my songs, like stems for all my songs, just so I've got them, in case anything ever happens one day and I can't get hold of them. So we're going through bouncing all the songs out, and there was like well over 100 songs, like well over. I can't remember what it was, 100, 150 or something. There's heaps of songs, and I was like, fuck, I didn't even know I did this much music, and that's just the stuff that I'd done with Stu, and I've only put out 2 albums and a couple of EPs, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with all these songs? Some of them are good, some of them are terrible, some of them are just ideas, but I was thinking, like, it's a shame that they didn't come out, but you can't really release them now as well. What do you do? I mean, these songs are some of them are 15, 20 years old, and then there's collaborations as well. Like, it'd be great if people could hear them. But I don't know how to get them out. You can't really just release them. I don't know what to do with them. I could do like an unreleased.
Why can't you just release them?
I don't know. Some of them are really old. You got to judge it on when it was made.
I don't know, man. I think you're overthinking it. I think Australian hip hop is one of the only places where you can get away with that way more. Because you can remember some of these motherfuckers listening to his music from 15 years ago anyway.
True.
So like they'll hear a song and they'll do it to me, like, because Eminem did it recently, right? What was it? The one he just released, Death of Slim Shady or whatever.
Yeah, and you put that old song on
Brand New Dance or whatever.
Yeah.
And people lost their minds over that because they were like, fuck yeah, old song. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I understand you're hesitant about it and stuff, but I would think that over, because I feel like that could be really cool.
I attribute a small part of my very small amount of success that I had when my music was actually, sort of popping, 2010 to 14 or whatever. Things were going pretty good back then for me. And I would say a lot of that was the professionalism of the branding. So I had a really good logo. I had a really good brand. The music that I was putting out, I tried my hardest to make it the best music that I could make. I tried to make sure that everything was professional, from the flyers to the gigs that I put on, and the opening acts and DJs and everything. I wanted everything to be as good as I could possibly make it. Not to say that it was amazing or anything, but I just tried to do the absolute best that I could with everything. Somebody will give you a CD and it's got some shitty artwork on it, and it taints your whole brand, right? And if your brand is getting better and better and better and better as you grow as an artist, which you hope it is, then releasing old music that's not of that same standard, I think, affects the brand in a negative way. I think the only way that you can do that from a marketing point of view is to make sure that the fans are very, very aware. Listeners, I don't even like to say the word fans, but you want to make sure that people listening to the music understand, hey, I wrote this song in 2009. This isn't my new shit, because I think it affects your brand negatively.
I do understand the point that you're making. There's two sides to that. There's all the perfectionism, like stops the execution and all those sayings people have and stuff. But I get your point of it.
There's a balance.
Yeah, you can take the approach that you're talking about too. From the vault sort of thing where you
that was another title name that I thought.
Yeah,
there's some good songs on there, and there's collabs people would love to hear,
Yeah. Or maybe just I could hear. Fuck everybody else. Just let me listen to it, bro.
The studio.
I won't share anybody's. I promise. Just Dropbox them to me, bro. I will never share them.
I sent you one unreleased song. That's
you
about it.
You did. Well, this is the thing. So there's a good example of this, right? There was a guy years ago named Shrooms, right? And he lived. I don't know if you ever actually know who he is. He used to be a producer for a bit. I think he went under a different name for a while
I
called
feel like I recognize the name.
The Gentleman or something. For a little while, he made like a beat tape like that. But he used to get around with like Big Tybes and Limbird and like Bird Brain. Like he was around those guys. And he actually lived here.
Bird Brain did my Imagine video clip.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a good clip.
Thank you.
And he was good. And I weirdly found out I knew people knew him. And then he did this thing where he got super self-critical, completely wiped the fucking face of the earth with anything he ever did. I used to listen to his 6 release songs on his MySpace page.
Yep.
One of them was this fucking 6 songs. I love this, whatever. Completely gone. I even spoke to one of his friends, and his friends had one of his EPs, and I was like, bro, like, I'll give you $100, man. Like, if I can have the EP, and he was like, sorry, man. He's like, he'll kill me if you know I gave it to you. And I was like, are you serious? So this guy, I was like, bro, it's not like I'm going to print it onto a CD and give it to everyone. Please, this is so nostalgic for me. I'll give you $100 for 5 songs. I just want these songs. I remember them so well. Dude was just, I'm not going to speak for Ryan. I don't know him. Turns out my brother actually met him.
Yep.
And who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to ask him in person. But the end of the story was that I got from people was basically that he just decided that he just felt really like, nah, my music's not good enough. Got rid of all of it, and then no one could listen to it. And I completely respect him as a person because it's his property and he can do whatever he wants. There is that side to it. But as a fan, I was just like, oh, fuck, man. It'll kill me that I can never listen to that stuff again. It's shattering, you know what I mean? To never be able to hear that. And so I think for me, I think about that with your stuff, and I'm like, one day you will die, and 100 songs that people would love will go with you, And I know maybe that's
Probably not, because I tell people close to me, I'm like, make sure that you put out all my music. So if
you'll be like
happens,
fucking Juice WRLD, they'll be releasing albums for years to come after you die. Yeah.
It's good because everyone can get a Smiley verse if they want it.
Yeah. As long as they got the stems, so it's not even on the same beat. They just put it on their track.
Right. And they can chop it up and make new verses.
You'll be doing remixes with Marshmello and shit.
It'd be like Tupac, still dropping albums. Dropping albums for 10 years.
Elvis and Tupac collab.
Yeah. But look, I can relate because there's songs that I can't get anymore that I want to hear, and it can be frustrating.
Is there an artist is there like a particular song that you have in mind, or like someone's like a release that you can't get anymore or something?
No, it just pops up occasionally. I'm like, oh, I remember that song, and then I go looking for it and I can't find it, and I know it's somewhere in my CD collection, and I've got the single of it or whatever. But the thing with streaming is, if I take songs down that have only been released via streaming, they don't exist anymore. If you buy a CD, you've always got it. There's songs that have been taken off albums because of sample issues that aren't there, that are great songs from big name artists, and you can't get them if you don't have them. That can be frustrating. So I see your perspective on that. But then my album, The Suspended Sentence, isn't on streaming anymore because I think it got taken down when my distributor closed down, and then I didn't put it back up. I put Stick Up Kids back up, but I didn't put that back up. And it's 15 years this year since the release of that. It's the anniversary. So I'm like, maybe I'll re-release it. I'll put it back up there, and maybe I'll do a vinyl release, or there's songs from that era that I could do something with as well.
Do an extended version?
Possibly, but it probably wouldn't fit on vinyl. But I could potentially upload an extended version, but it messes with the codes and stuff sometimes, depending on how you do that stuff. But that's an option. And I do the same thing, because you put music out too soon. You start making music and you go, oh my God, I can make a song. And then you put it out there. I wonder what people think about it. And it's fucking terrible, and you really shouldn't have put your music out yet. You should have kept working on your craft, You shouldn't have gone pro, Stay in the gym.
I was going to bring this up before. Yeah, this is a big thing, because I released like pretty much everything I did except for like maybe 5 or 6 songs. But that was a big thing I realized back then. Like, and I had a mate recently talk about it, and he was like, I want to, I've got the album, when people do the old thing where they'll 11 songs, 1, 2, 3, and they've already got the name worked out, haven't even written the song yet, and they create their album template.
Yeah. And
I was like, man, just make songs, make like 20, and then only use like 10, because you won't like half of it. And I was like, if you do, that's how you'll get a good album. Otherwise, you'll do exactly that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Everyone has different creative processes. If you said that to Roger Waters about The Wall, that's the whole album follows a theme and tells a story. So sometimes it's not a bad thing to plan out your whole project. And, even I used to just write bars, and then now I'm crafting songs and trying to do art, and I'm thinking about what I'm trying to create when I'm creating some of these songs. Some of them I'm just barring out, and some of them I'm like, I want to create something here. And what's the message? How's the verse going to start and finish? How's the song going to start and finish? A bit of planning is not a bad thing sometimes. But I know what you're saying. When you're starting out, just start writing music. But you get to a level where you want to create maybe there's a name for it I can't think of, but maybe a whole themed album, or more. I've got all kinds of elaborate creative ideas that I want to do that aren't just write 20 songs and pick 10 for an album. Whether I'll ever do them or not is different, but you seek new challenges, and that can be more planning involved.
Yeah, I think it's more because it's his first release.
Yeah, just write some songs.
That's kind of my approach. Like I said, I'm not saying you can't be Roger Waters at some point, but for me, I was like, it's your first CD.
You got to get practice in, man. You
got to make shit songs. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Roger Waters made shit songs, I'm sure.
Probably
at some point.
You hear their demos, they're pretty rough, some of them.
Yeah, and here's the thing, that's only what you're hearing.
Great.
He could have made more songs, you just don't know.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Most artists do. You're right.
Yeah.
I just heard 360 said something about that, about making all these songs, for this album and how many were going to make the cut, and it was incredible to me, the people are throwing away so much music, but I guess I do it to a degree as well.
I just think it's money because I'm like, fuck, studio time. But it depends on how much your money you're spending. And
yeah, I mean, I've got my own studio. It's not set up at the moment, but in the past, I've had my own studio, so studio time is not an issue. So it's not as important. Although I do like renting studio space, or like right now, I'm working with Rob Shaker, and it's really good because we are almost collaborating on songs together, and things that I would be doing, he's doing. Automatically, so I don't have to go in there and do it. So it's good to work with somebody else. It makes it efficient, and the collaborative process is good. Like the other day, I said to Smithy, hey man, you want to come down to the studio? I'm in the studio tomorrow morning just for some fresh ears. So he just came down. We just played him a bunch of songs, tried to get some feedback off him, and because you don't know, right? Like you're you can get really lost in a song, and you work on it for too long. You can lose perspective. So it's good to work with other people sometimes. But yeah, studio time's usually not a major issue for me. But Grievous has got that point of view. He's like, well, if I put this money into this music, I need to get a return on that. He's very business savvy. I see that point of view as well, for sure. But for me, it's more of an outlet of just doing something creative. So the same as going to play golf or something for someone. They're happy to pay the fee to do that. For me, I'm happy to pay just to make the song. It's enjoyable to do it,
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite like song of yours, like that you have made, like probably one that's off of something that you've released, like either the 2 albums or whatever? But do you have one that you're, I guess, if you were to meet someone that had like didn't know you're a rapper and they were like, oh, like, show me an example of like work you're proud of?
I think your latest song is usually your favorite song.
Usually.
Because you're excited about it because it's fresh. Novelty hasn't worn off. As for showing somebody else my music, not something I typically do a lot of anyway, but it would depend on the person, right? So, what kind of music do you like? Oh, I'll listen to this, this, and this. I'll be like, well, maybe you'll like this song of mine. I really like War Games off the last album. Because it was challenging. It's like really leaning into being a pop song, which is very far from my regular style.
It's the one that had that good sample in it, eh?
That's a singer, Sophie Jane.
Oh, she actually sung that.
Yeah, she sung it. Yeah, she's a West Australian artist. I like that song because it pushed me creatively. And it was a song that we did live for probably 3 or 4 years before we did the final recording. We did a bunch of recordings, and the song grew over time by performing it live. So I quite enjoyed that song, but I don't know what my favorite would be. There's a few that I like. I like Gingerbread Man. I like Stick Up Kids.
Stick Up Kids has a sick beat. I really like the pacing of the song is good. Like I play it in here a bit, and it's like it like fits the, like, what I mean? It works being in the background where like you couldn't. I like Fatty Few. don't know if you know that is a guy from
I know the
overseas.
name,
So
but I don't know a lot of his music.
sick rapper, but it's just like you couldn't play a single one of his songs near because it just wouldn't fit. You know what I mean? Like it's so. Whereas like that's a song to me that fits. Like if I'm driving, I can play that. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like it fits a lot of things. I actually realized like listening to your music again. I've actually really getting into like There Goes the Neighborhood. Like that, the beat is fucking hard on that. Like I never realized how hard the beat was. Like even just listening, because I listened to it in the car and I'm like, you know, when sometimes you have to like listen past the lyrics and like listen past it, and I'm like, this instrumental is actually fucking sick. Like it just like, you know what I mean? The song's good, but I just didn't realize how hard the beat is on that. But I also, for me, I think Imagine. I just think because I remember hearing that on the Canteen album, and I was like, I was familiar with you then, but not enough. Like I'd heard Bloodstained Nikes and I'd heard some of the collabs that you've done and maybe one or two of your songs. But I remember just literally like hearing that and almost being a little bit like literally like putting it on and like showing mates and being like, hey, and people were like, fuck, this is pretty good. And it was almost this sort of thing where I was like, why the fuck isn't this getting more like, I don't know, you're kind of like, eh, whatever. But I was like, why is this getting more attention? I feel like some of the other stuff that like people are talking about, I'm like, this is heaps better than that. What the fuck you on
Thanks,
about?
man.
Like, but that's, I don't know, I just thought it was
I
a
think
really
I covered before why a lot of the stuff wasn't getting attention.
Yeah.
It's a couple of I could be bitter and say that, you know, like
But it was all on the same album.
fucking closing doors on me and, you know, whatever. But also like you've got to do this shit and make good music for a long time before it gets the traction as well. So a lot of it's on my work ethic. But then some of it was me being shut down and not getting openings because of, you know, being too outspoken, being not leaning into that particular sound at that time that Richard Kingsmill really wanted. And if you didn't make that sound, then you weren't getting played on Triple J. You know, not playing the game. Like I'm just not a dude that's going to kiss ass to get ahead. So a lot of the times I close doors for myself by just being like, fuck you, you know, on certain things. So it's probably mostly my responsibility though. And work ethic. Like I should have just kept doing it. I had this massive 10-year break. If I'd have kept going, there were a few of us that were on a pretty good trajectory and things probably would have gone better musically. But would I be as set up as I am in my life now and as happy as I am now? Probably not, man. This is the best my life's ever been. I'm fucking stoked. So I'm pretty happy I went the route that I went, but there's still time to do more music. That There Goes the Neighborhood song. I co-produced that beat with Tech, Michael, that I was saying before. That was one of the few songs where I wrote the hook and then we wrote the beat. Normally I'll write to a beat. We might produce the beat together or I might get a beat off somebody else and then I'll write the song. But that one I had the hook already. Then we made the beat. Another one, what were the other ones you mentioned? There are a couple of stories there. There's one track on there called Runaway Train.
Yeah.
And that song was originally produced, Michael and I produced that beat for a Vents promo that Golden Era were doing. So it was like make a new beat for Vents Marked to Death. And so that beat was actually made as a Marked for Death remix. Vents is an absolute gun. And so we made that and it got knocked back. K21 won it, I believe, who later got signed to Golden Era. He's a good lad too. I remember seeing him over in Melbourne, I think, at a show, and he was a real gentleman.
Nice guy.
He was.
Quick side story, did the worst freestyle of my life when I was 17 in a wife beater singlet at a complete Grievous and K21 gig in Coodinut, and have never felt more embarrassed in my life. And K21 was an absolute fucking king, and afterwards was like jamming me up hard and was like, bro, who gives a fuck? That was, you know, you got up and did it, rah, rah. That was literally the nicest motherfucker. So I never ever saw him again. And also introduced himself as Adrian, not K21.
Same.
Which is another thing too. If you introduce me to you using your rap name, I find it really weird.
It's difficult for me because my last name's Smiles.
Yeah.
And all my friends, everybody calls me Smiley.
Yeah.
So some people call me Andrew, but most people just call me Smiley. So I never know what to say.
You still say Andrew to me though, like you did when we
I?
met and stuff, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think
Sometimes I say both, you know?
I think if you say Smiley after we've met, it's fine. But it's like when you first meet someone, I think just your
Depends on
name.
the person too. Maybe I don't want them to know my name.
Mate, yeah, otherwise they look you up on Facebook and inbox the shit out of you.
Fucking leave me alone. K21 was an absolute gentleman, and same, like, had a lot of nice things to say. I think we were both on the same bill for a show over there in Melbourne, which was good. So anyway, that beat didn't get used for Vents, so we ended up using that on the album, and I wrote Runaway Train to that beat. One of the beats on there, while we're talking production, we made from a graffiti video. We used the sound of cutting the fence and the cans rattling and spraying, and we would just get that sound of popping the fence, and then turn that into a snare and shit like that. Just because we were bored and wanting to be creative. So we would micro sample everything and make these crazy beats out of it, So you can hear all kinds of stuff. There's tattoo machines and burnouts, motorbikes, and we just chop them up and make them into beats. We did that for the song with me and Grievous. What's that one called? Sex.
What was that off?
That was off Stick Up Kids.
I listened to it the other day. Yeah.
Something sex and rap tunes.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but that was one of those ones that was a really funky beat. I've been really enjoying the new music that I've been making. I've got some cool tracks. It's good now because I don't have anything to hold me back. I don't have to worry about, I'm going to offend anyone or whatever. So like that song I sent you the other day, it's pretty offensive. I'm having trouble even getting someone to do a music video for it because it's too offensive, I'm actually wary of putting that song on where I put it online because it's one of those ones that could potentially get my account banned. So I have to think about what pages I want to put it on, because things can be a bit fucking soft these days.
I'd probably just use the verses to promote it, and then you'd probably be fine.
Put the rest on YouTube.
The chorus is the only thing that would get you flagged. The whole thing will be fine on YouTube, but if you were to, I've had it happen with TikTok and stuff, if you...
Yeah, TikTok's the worst for it.
Yeah, you can't even put certain thumbnails up, man. It just, tags them and shit.
I just put a video up of me riding motorbikes, doing wheelies and shit, and they had a problem with it. They had an issue with it because it was showing dangerous content. You can't do anything fun on TikTok. Just naked girls, that's it.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Naked women, that's it.
Instagram's letting that through as well now.
Are they?
Yeah. Let's not get on that. I'll show you a horrible one afterwards, though, of how bad it's getting.
I don't want to see it.
It makes you upset.
I'm happily engaged.
We could go on forever. We know what we're like, but I think the cameras we've got limited time left. But I think...
Sure. Is there anything in particular you want to cover?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of it kind of indirectly, to be honest, because the main stuff was really... The main stuff was really where you're at now, covering some of the stuff before, some stories, and a lot of the kind of mindset thing. I know that it was important for you to talk about that. I know we want, and it was for me too, for us to really just talk about your relationship with music and then some of the scene and why you stepped away and why you came back into it. I think that was the important stuff to cover because that's the stuff that people really aren't aware of.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that's ever been mentioned really because I don't really do interviews or podcasts or fuck all stuff like that. I didn't really do much of it when I was super active with music. But some people probably listen to my music and think, what the fuck? Some of the subject matter. And I was thinking about it, I'm in the middle of writing this song at the moment. I'm nearly finished writing this song at the moment. And some of the subject matter that I'm touching on, I'm having to remember a lot of things that happened in the past. And I'm like, this shit is not fucking normal. There's some fucked up shit that happened. And I put it into the song, because you got to be authentic in your music. But some of it, I'm like, people are not even going to fucking believe this shit happened because I'm having trouble believing that that's what life was like, And you were saying about some of it's good gym music. Well, you got to think my music is, there's a lot of anger coming out. The subject matter is, you can only paint a picture through the artist's eyes of what you've seen if you're making authentic music. So either what you've seen or, what you know of in your, stuff that you can make genuine and people can relate to, because you couldn't say those things if you didn't actually live it or be around it, right? So that's why the music's so aggressive and why it has that intensity that it might work in a gym, because I guess I could go on for hours about my fucking childhood and my story, and all of that. But I think it really comes from that stuff, I had poor as fuck, overbearing father, so I hated authority. And then as soon as I started coming of age, the coppers just fucking stomped us, massively. Like, cops today are probably bad, but in comparison to what they were like in the 90s growing up, patrolling High Wycombe, it was like, are you coming of age? We're going to teach you who's in charge around here. It was fucking shit, man. So that's probably why all that anger and everything, comes out in the music. And I probably haven't spoken about that much other than through my music, and it's probably why I'm a little bit abrasive and say things that I probably shouldn't say or that are going to piss people off or whatever, but I don't care, whatever. And it's gotten me cancelled a bunch of times. I've had fucking, I've had people in positions of authority in the industry, like plenty of radio announcers try to get me cancelled and stuff. Man, just for Facebook posts and stuff like that, I've had radio hosts like, from Triple J, like commenting on my stuff, saying if this is like, just from posts that have gone viral and people have written shit on there, and I've like not been involved with those people, but because they wrote on my post, this Triple J guy was like, if this is what your fans are saying, then I don't want to hear your music, and I'm like, I can't control what random people on the internet are saying on my page. I'm trying my best to delete stuff that's inappropriate.
That's not really a responsibility though, yeah.
No, that's right. It's a viral post on social media. Another guy for that same post was like contacting my distributor and saying, you got to cancel this guy, get him off your label thing, and rah, rah. So I'm always rubbing people up the wrong way, but you just got to be yourself and say what you think, and people are allowed to have different opinions. And I'm entitled to my opinion just like everybody else is, It's, of course, free speech, I might not agree with what you say, but I'll fight for the death for your, your right to say it. So,
yeah, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, I think that's why we get along so well. There's that level of, and it's probably fucked me over more than I should have let it, but I don't know, man. I'd still rather die who I am. You know what I mean? It's just not that important to me. I don't really fucking care. What else could be going on here? Could have a sponsorship by some random fucking company they don't truly believe in. Try their product. It's fucking not even that good, but you should use my 10% discount code to get 10% off something that should be 50% of what it costs. Like, fuck that. It's just like not worth it to me. I think that's why this sort of project means more to me, because now I don't really care about a return, because this is the return. The return is I'm going to speak to favorite hip hop artists and create like content with them and a story and talk about it. I don't fuck what I get out of it, because how cool is this for me? Like, it's not even about that validation anymore, because it just doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Think what you're doing here is really good, man. It's good for the scene. We haven't had anything in WA for a while. Like, Groove FM was great. Launch was great, that Jav did, putting gigs on for people to get exposure that way. But we don't have a ton going on here. There's a few things I've noticed. I'm a bit out of touch, obviously, being out of the game for a while. There's a few things going on, but I think what you're doing is contributing massively. And look, you're a great guy. I wouldn't have even been here if you weren't my mate. I get hit up for these things occasionally, and still now, and I can't be fucked doing any of them. So, but I'm happy to come on here and talk to you for sure. And I think what you're doing is genuine, and it's going to help boost the scene. And good on you, man. I feel a sense of responsibility to pitch in and start doing a little bit more in music, and try to help people out a little bit more. But you can only do what you can do as well, right?
Yeah, but it'll be, I mean, even just for me, man, it's a huge help, because you have an input and a valuable input from a perspective, and you've been there for at a different time, and you can put in a lot more in a different way. Similar to myself, like I might not be able to put in from the perspective of putting shows on, or you might not be able to put in the perspective of even putting music out. You still might, but the point is like the responsibility changes, and as you said, you still may be able to give back. That might actually be more effective by even just having input, because when it comes to something like this, your input and your feedback is like, it's more than anyone else can give me, because it's kind of like it's coming from a perspective of someone who actually understands it and like takes it personally and like cares, you know what I mean? As opposed to someone just being like, oh yeah, I think that's cool that you're doing that. So
everybody's got to do their thing, right? So if every artist in WA just stopped doing music, like every rap artist, we all just stopped doing music, you weren't doing this, there is no WA scene. You're not putting shows on, it's gone, it's over, right? So the more people that put music out, the more people that put shows on, do podcasts, whatever they're doing, battles or whatever aspect of hip hop you're into, the more content that's getting put out there, the more music that's out there, whatever, the bigger the scene is. And the more we work together and we're united, what is it? A rising tide lifts all boats. So instead of being competitive like some artists have been in the past, we need to be united. We need to work together more. We need to be more supportive as a scene, like nationally, but especially or at least a scene state-wise. I think we need to get around each other and support each other more. And everybody's allowed to have their opinions and differences and all of those things, but we should try to G each other up and get each other's music heard. That's why I've been sharing people's music and working with the young crew where I can. And I think everybody's got to do something, and it's so good, man, to see, Complete playing sold out shows and Draft's up there on stage supporting him. And, we got a new Downside album out and, Complete just dropped another album and, Bitter's Free Speech song was out the other day. That's Ripper, Gaz, Grievous has put a bunch of solid albums out, and you've just got artists just putting lots of good work out, and it, I just think we need more and more and more of that. So it's not my place to say who does it and who doesn't do it. You can't put that pressure on people, but it is nice to see, and who knows? I don't know what the future holds for me with music. Maybe it'll be more music and more shows. Maybe it won't. I don't know, but we'll find out,
I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it'll go where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Worst case, I'll just kill you and steal your mixtapes.
You got to find them. We'll see what happens. I mean, I guess the smart thing to do is work on a body of work and then find out. I haven't toured the last album, so, I could even do a launch for that or anything. I don't know, but I'll just do it at my leisure.
There's no pressure.
That's all right.
I'll be there.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Regardless.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks for coming on, man. This has been
Thanks
great. It's not going to be the last one. We'll do another one. We have to. We talk too much. We might as well record it.
Man, we just talk on the phone for fucking hours about fuck all anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, podcast, easy work.
For sure. Let's do it again.
All right, sounds good, brother. Thanks for having me.